As I mentioned, this is the last day of official class on Thursday. Whatever we don't finish in our review for today, I'm going to go ahead and post a recording just because I want to make sure that we have the review covered for the final exam. I did mention about submitting a final document as an assignment where you're going to be posting your solutions to the final exam. And if you fail to do that, you will lose 5% of your final exam grade. Okay. All right. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and start the review today. So this is the final exam review. Okay, so what are we going to be doing? We're going to review our 5 chapters 1 through 6, and then chapter 12. This is what we're going to be doing. Okay, so I'm going to be working problem through problem. And it's your time to ask questions. Alrighty, let's get started. So, number 1, factor by grouping. And you want to factor it completely. So if you have 16x squared plus 12x plus 20x plus 15, how do you factor by grouping? Well, you know that there are 4 terms. You group the first 2, you group the second 2. What does the first 2 have in common? A 4x. What does the second 2 have in common? A plus 5. Notice that these 2 are equal. So you have 4x plus 5 as a factor, and the other factor is 4x plus 3. And this is the solution. So whatever I do right now in class, that's what I'm expecting you to do for the final. See how I have number 1 and then I have the solution and I have worked out the solution? That's exactly what I'm asking you to do on your paper. Number 2. So if you have any questions or if you're stuck on a problem, please let me know. The second one is asking you to factor if you have 7x squared plus 18x minus 9. Let's say you have this. So how do you factor something like this? You use the X method. So you have A equals 7, B is 18, and C is negative 9. So then you do your X. A times C is negative 63, and then 18. So we're looking for 2 numbers that multiply and give me negative 63, but add to 18. Sometimes it might not work. It might be prime. What does that mean? Well, the factors of 18 are 18 and 1, 9 and 2, and 6 and 3. And what is divisible by 63? 21 and 3. That seems like it could work. So 21 is positive and -3. These are called your bingo numbers. You're going to have to use the extended method, 7x squared plus 21x minus 3x minus 9. So you're replacing 18 by your bingo numbers because A is not equal to 1. If A were to be 1, then this would become easy. Now, you do grouping again. You factor out a 7x from the first, you get x plus 3. You factor out a -3 from the other, and you get x plus 3. So your answer is 7x minus 3 times x plus 3. Questions here. So we have to factor, we use the x method and then the extension method because A was not 1. But that will always be the case. When A is not equal to 1, you're going to have to use extension. Okay. Moving on. Completing the square. Number 3. Factor by completing the square. This is very common. So here they're asking you to first factor. So if you have y squared minus 4y, you want to first find what do I have to add here and then factor. So step 1, you need to find this highlighted area. How do I find that highlighted area? Well, you take b divided by 2 and square that number. And I always keep that number in the parentheses, and that's true because a is 1. My coefficient is 1, so I'm allowed to do that. So b in this case is -4 divided by 2 and square it. You get -2 in the inside, but you always want to keep it in a parentheses. And then I get a +4. That's the number I have to add. A 4. Okay, a +4. You're not gonna, in yours, if it's a negative, then you put a negative. It's gonna be usually a positive because when you're squaring a negative, you still get a positive. So you don't have to put the plus sign. Is that clear? So when you're submitting your answers on my math lab, like you usually do on your test, don't put +4, just put 4. All right, now, how do I factor? Well, the factoring part comes with the number that's inside the parenthesis. This factors as y minus 2 squared. This is the factorization. You can write it this way, or you could do y minus 2, y minus 2. They're both correct. Questions? Questions here. This is a time to ask questions, folks. All right. So that was number 3. Number 4. Okay, so we're going to be doing all day, all today's lesson is going to be review, like questions and questions and questions. Again, we're going to be factoring is very important in this class. This is one of the things that you're going to see a lot that you need to get out of. You need to know how to factor. If you have 3x squared minus 6x plus 9. Well, this one, you're going to say, oh, well, I need to use the x method and la, la, la. Well, before that, they all have a 3 in common. So you want to pull it out. Okay. That's the greatest common factor. That's something that they all have in common. They have a 3 in common. So then this becomes x squared minus 2x plus 3. Now you factor the inside, factor the reduced version of it. So how do you factor this? Again, the x method. So then a is 1, b is -2, and c is 3. A times C is 3 and -2. Two numbers that multiply and give me 3, but add to -2. Well, are there such number? Well, if we want to have 3, that's 3 times 1, or -3 and -1, but that's it, right? There's nothing else you could do. So the factorization, since the X method doesn't work, so it's just going to be 3 parentheses X squared minus 2X plus 3. That's it. That's all the factoring you could do. That's it, because when you're trying to do the X method, it doesn't work. A times C is 3, B is -2. Two numbers that multiply and give you 3, but add to -2, there's no such number. Okay, Joanna, you want to make sure that you are on time. Class starts at 4, not 4:15. Okay, you're marked late. You missed a lot of good information. Okay. No, you don't want to use quadratic formula here, not unless they're stating you to do that. We're not using quadratic formula, Aaron, because we don't need to solve. If I ask you to solve, then that's something different. Right now, all I'm asking you guys is to factor. Okay. So it's important to read instructions. So the first, they're asking you to factor only. Okay. Thank you. It's important to ask questions, everyone. So if you want to unmute yourself and ask questions or put them on the chat, fair game. All right, so that was question 4. I'm going to move on to question 5. So question 5 says, now we're solving. So right now, what we did right now, all of the questions 1 through 4 was section R4 and R5. So I'm going in order by sections. Now I'm going to go over chapter 1. Okay. I'm still going in order, so I'm going to do question 5 now, but 5 will consist of chapter 1. So chapter 1, section 1, solving linear equations. So if I ask you to have 5x minus parentheses 2x plus 3 is equal to 8x minus 18. I want to solve for x. That means I have to combine like terms. You first distribute this negative. You have 5x minus 2x minus 3 is equal to 8x minus 18. Now I have an x here and an x here that I have to combine. 5x minus 2x, I get a 3x minus 3 equal 8x minus 18. Now there's a 3x here and an 8x here. They're in different locations. I have to put them together. So what I'm going to do is actually subtract both sides by 3x. So this would be -3 is equal to 5x minus 18. Now the 18 has to go to this side. So I have to add 18 to both sides. I get 15 positive is equal to 5x. Now I have to solve for x, so I divide by 5, and I get x equal 3. You are not putting 3. Sorry, you're not putting x equal 3. All you have to do is put the number 3. Because I get a lot of complaints and emails saying, oh, I put x equals, but I already said don't put x equals. Okay, on your solution when you're typing your solution out. All right. Number 6. So solve again. Now this one is asking you to solve. Let me zoom out here. This one is asking you to solve. So solve the following equation by factoring. So I want to find the values of x. That's what it means when it's asking you to solve. So solve the equation by factoring, and they're telling you what method to use. So this one is 2x squared minus 13x minus 7 equals 0. The first thing to notice is that this is a quadratic equation, meaning you will have two answers. So the first thing is making sure that that right side is equal to 0. That looks good. Now, well, you use X method to factor. So you have A equal 2, B is negative 13, and C is negative 7. A times C is negative 14 and negative 13. Two numbers that multiply and give me negative 14, but add to negative 13. That's negative 14 and 1. Now I'm going to use these numbers to extend. Why do I need to extend? Because A is it's greater than 1. It's not equal to 1. So this becomes 2x squared minus 14x plus x minus 7 equals 0. So I replaced negative 14 and 1 by the negative 13x. You have 4 terms, you group. You factor out of 2x from the first. There's nothing, you're gonna say there's nothing that I can factor from the other two. Well, there's always something. There's always a plus 1. Now you notice that your factorization is 2x plus 1 equals 0 and x minus 7 is equal to 0, your factors. You have to solve for both because you're going to end up with 2 solutions at the end of the day. Subtract both sides by 1, you get 2x equal negative 1, x equals negative a half. This is one answer. The other answer is what? X equals 7. So when they ask you to input your solution, you're going to put negative 1/2, comma 7. You don't put x equals negative a half, x equals 7. No, you just put negative a half, comma 7. You're splitting the 2 solutions here. Okay, so this is your solution. And it's not a point. Questions here? Do we have any questions? This is solving a quadratic equation by factor. All right, next up. Let's see here what we get. Number 7. Question 7. Now it's asking you to solve the equation by the square root method. This is another form of quadratics. Okay. So here, what you guys have to do is if I give you x minus 6 squared is equal to 81. Well, this one doesn't look like your regular quadratic, but since you have a square, you can use the square root method. What does the square root method say? Well, I take the square root of both sides. When I do that, the square and the quadratic will cancel. I'm left with x minus 6 is equal to plus or minus 9. 81 has the positive and the negative root of 9. So technically, this becomes 2 different equations. X minus 6 is equal to 9. X minus 6 is equal to negative 9. And you solve for both of them. On this one, you add both sides by 6. You get x equal 15. This is one answer. The other answer, you add both sides by 6. I get x equal -3. This is my other answer. Again, you're going to type your answers as splitting. So you're going to do -3, comma 15. You have two distinct solutions. This is the time to ask questions if you have them. No questions so far? Okay. I'm putting my computer to charge. 1 second. Oops. Okay. Next up, again, we are going to use, now this one is telling you what to do. The next problem that I'm going to go over. Yes, so the question will tell you what method to use, yes. For factoring, it depends. So sometimes you can use the X method. And sometimes you'll use the X method with the extension, okay? But it won't tell you, use the X method to factor. But sometimes you're going to tell you, do you have to put them in order, like the negative first and then the positive? I would put them in order just because you don't have to, because it doesn't matter, but I would put them in order. Okay. So technically you want to read the instructions. They will tell you usually what they want you to do. So that's what we're going to go next. On question 8. Question 8 is asking you to find the real solutions using the quadratic formula. So in that case, if we have 2x squared minus 7x plus 5 equals 0, that right side always has to be 0. So what is the quadratic formula? X equal -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. That is the quadratic formula. What do we know? Well, we know a is 2, b is -7, and c is 5. And then all we have to do, guys, is plug and chug and simplify the problem. So we have x equal -b, that's negative and -7, like so, plus or minus the square root of b squared, that's -7 squared, minus 4ac, so 4 times 2 times 5, all over 2a. So this is what I mean by I'm asking you, I'm requiring you to submit your solutions, because I'm trying to see step by step if you are following the rules. If you don't have this, then that means you are either cheating or you're plugging in some answers and you're Googling your solutions. So as a verification that you actually understood the course and master the course, you have to show me your solution. Is that clear for the final? So then we have x equals 7 positive, plus or minus the square root of 49 minus, so we have 4 times 2 times 5, that's 40, all over 4. Then again, we have x equals 7 plus or minus the square root of 9, all over 4. But the square root of 9 is 3, so you're going to simplify. X equals 7 plus or minus 3 over 4. This means you have two answers, 7 plus 3 over 4 and 7 minus 3 over 4. You clean it up, you get 10/4 over here, which is 5/2. Here you get 4 over 4, which is 1. You always want to simplify your answers. You're not going to give me 4 over 4 or 10 over 4, because 10 over 4 could be reduced as 5/2. You always want to simplify your answer. And if you don't simplify it, it will mark it wrong. So at the end of the day, your solutions are 1, 5/2. These are your answers. Okay. Questions? Do we have any questions? Okay. So good. So far, so good. All right. We are looking at question number 9 next. Question number 9, they're asking you to find the distance between 2 points. Okay. So the one that we just finished right now was chapter 1, sections 1 and 1-2. So I'm going in order. What we're going to do right now is chapter 2. Chapter 2 starts with the distance formula. Okay. So find the distance between 2 points. Let's say P1, the first point is 5, -2. Point 2 is 3, 6. Well, you use the distance formula, the square root of x1 minus x2 squared plus y1 minus y2 squared. You start by labeling your points, x1, y1, x2, y2, you plug it in. So x1 is 5 minus 3 squared plus y1 is -2 minus 6 squared. Okay, so you're plugging and chugging. So then you have d is equal to the square root of 2 squared plus -8 squared, because -2 minus, we have a 6, -6 and -2, -8. So then you have d is equal to the square root of 4 plus 64. Okay, so I don't want any decimals here. I want the exact answer using radicals. So if you're trying to cheat, and if you're trying to use a calculator, well, guess what? It's going to mark it wrong. Okay, because you have to make sure you know how to do the exact answer. So this is the square root of 68. Well, what is this? 68 can be broken down into 4 and 17, I believe. Yes. So to break down 68, we have d equals the square root of 4 times the square root of 17. But you know the square root of 4 is 2. So you get 2 the square root of 17. And this is your answer. And you have to type it like this on the test. If you use decimals, you're going to mark it wrong. Which one? Miko, is that good or a little bit up? Here or like this? Or you're trying to go the other problem? Oh, that's good. Okay. You want to write down everything, okay? You want to make sure we're all catching up. Okay.
Professor, so the question, the problem we just did, is that chapter 1 or is that the next one?
No, that's chapter 2. So distance.
Okay.
So this, we're starting chapter 2 review. So the one up top was all chapter 1, sections 1-1 and 1-2. So I'm going in order. Okay. You don't expect the final to be in order. Don't expect your test to be like, oh, it's like, oh, this is section 1. Oh yeah, I remember. No. It's not going to be in order. I'm going in order because I want you to take good notes. Because you are going to be allowed to use your notes for the final. Okay. Miko, you got this? I'm going to scroll down a little bit. And I'm going to move on to the next question. All right. So the next question, Rachel, are you just joining us? Please make sure that you are on time. Class starts at 4. So technically you're marked absent today. Okay, class starts at 4, not 4:40. All right, the next question is question 10. Question 10, they're asking you to find the midpoint between two of them. Find the midpoint between 2 points. Christian, are you just joining us? Class starts at 4, not 4:38. You're marked absent. Okay, I don't understand why are people coming in so late. Okay, I don't understand what's going on. All right. Okay, this cannot be happening. Especially because this is the last day of class and we're going over the review for the final. So it's just unacceptable. Okay, next up, finding the midpoint between 2 points. Let's say I have P1, which is -3,8, and then P2, my second point, is 10,0. First thing you need to do is label your points. Okay, priorities first, okay? Priorities are first. So we have X1, Y1, X2, Y2. The midpoint formula is X1 plus X2 over 2, comma, Y1 plus Y2 over 2, like so. And you also need to make sure that this is a point. Nubia, I didn't call on you. It was only Rachel and Christian. Okay. So then the next thing you do is you substitute. You have -3 plus 10 over 2, comma, 0 or 8 plus 0 over 2. And then you simplify, you get 7 over 2, comma, 8 over 2. But you simplify that further, you get 7 over 2, comma, 4. And you'll leave it as a fraction. That first one is 7/2, comma, 4. You don't change this to decimal. You don't change this to 3.5. If you do, it's going to mark it wrong. Okay, that's why it's important not to be using calculator when you're doing easy problems like this. Okay, next up, question 11. Question 11, we're still in chapter 2. I'm going to give you an equation and you must tell me the intercepts. Find the intercept. What is the y-intercept? So the y and the x-intercept. So if they ask you for the intercepts, they're asking for both the x and the y. So let's say I give you y equals. So find the intercepts to graph the equation. So if I give you y equal 2x plus, let's say, plus 8. So what you need to do first is find the x-intercept and the y-intercept. Well, what is the x-intercept? For the x-intercept, you let y equal 0 and solve for x. So let's go ahead and do that. So you have 0 equal 2x plus 8. You solve for x, so you subtract both sides by 8. You get negative 8 equal 2x. Divide both sides by 2. You get x equal negative 4. So your x-intercept is negative 4 comma 0. That's the first thing you have to do. The next thing is to find the y-intercept. So the y-intercept, you let x equal 0 and solve for y. So that one, you have the equation y equal 2x plus 8. Y is equal to 2 times 0 plus 8. You get y equal 8. So your intercept, your y-intercept is 0 comma 8. So you have two intercepts. You have the x-intercept and you have the y-intercept. And they're both points. So you're going to have negative 4 comma 0 comma 0, 8. This is the solution. Now you have to graph. Negative 4, 0 is 1, 2, 3, 4. Put a point. 0, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Put a point. And then you graph. That is your equation. That is the equation of your line. You must know how to do all these things. All right. Next up, question 12. Make sure you're catching up. Do we need a little bit more time or we're good? Put thumbs up if you're good. Or thumbs down if you need more time. Thumbs up. Okay. It looks like you guys are on track. Good. Let's go to the next problem. So the next question is, I believe it's 12. Yes. So question 12 is it's saying again, find the intercepts to graph the equation. So to graph y equal negative x squared plus 1. Well, what do we know about this? This is a quadratic because it's an x squared. So the intercepts, again, the x-intercept, you let y equal 0 and solve for x. So let's do that. So you have 0 equal negative x squared plus 1. Bring the 1 over, negative 1 equal negative x squared. Divide both sides by negative 1. You get 1 equals x squared. You take the square root of both sides. You get x is equal to plus or minus 1. You have two x-intercepts. You have 1 comma 0 and negative 1 comma 0. Those are your x-intercepts. Okay. Now the y-intercept, you let x equal 0. So you have y is equal to negative x squared plus 1. Y is equal to negative 0 squared plus 1. Y is equal to 1 because 0 squared is 0 plus 1 is 1. So our y-intercept is 0, 1. So the solutions, the intercepts, if you will, you should have 3 different intercepts. 1 comma 0 comma, negative 1 0 comma 0 1. All of these are your intercepts. Now we need to graph. So we have one at 0 1 right here. 1 negative 1 0 and 1 0. And what do you know about this? This is a parabola and it opens down. How do I know it opens down? because of the negative in the front. So this goes like this. Like that. There is your parabola. Okay. So you need to sketch and plot your intercepts. All righty. Next step. Question 13. So question 13. Again, we are trying to graph. So if I give you the equations, you have to tell me. So for example, if I ask you to, so the graph is given. And say I give you a graph like this. And I have intercepts. One right here, and one right here. And my graph looks like this. Now I'm going to ask you a few things. I'm going to tell you find the intercepts, all the intercepts, find the intercepts of the graph, and then determine the symmetry. So the intercepts are this one, and this one. You have three different intercepts. The first intercept is -3, 0, this one. The other one is 3, 0. And the last one is 0, -3. Those are your intercepts. Now, if we have this is symmetric. This graph is symmetric towards the y-axis. Okay, this is symmetric towards the y-axis. Because it could be towards the x, towards the origin, towards the x-axis. But this one, the symmetry is symmetric. The graph is symmetric towards the y-axis. So you have to study all of them. You have to study symmetry with respect to the x, the origin, and the y-axis. Or some, it might not have any symmetry. Okay, so that is your job. I'm only doing one example of each. We're still in chapter 2. Question 14. Graph the line containing the point P and having slope n. So for that one, we have to graph the line containing the point P, the point 3, 5, and the slope is undefined. So what do we know about a slope being undefined? So if we have an undefined slope, we have a vertical line. That's what it means. We have x equals a number. Well, what number do we have? Well, we're given 3. So the equation is x equals 3. This is the line that I need to graph. So all you have to do is go where x is equal to 3. So you go to your axes, go 1, 2, 3, you put a point, and then you can pick any other point that's either above or below. And you make this vertical line x equal 3. That is the equation, and that is the graph when a slope is undefined. Okay, question. So sometimes the slope will be undefined, or it might be 0. If it's 0, then it's y equals instead of x equals. Okay, so make sure you study that as well, the slope. What does it mean when it's positive, negative, 0, undefined, all of that good stuff. Okay, we're going to move on to question 15. Do we have any questions, by the way? Please have your questions on the chat, or if you want to unmute yourself as you wish. Okay. So question 15. Question 15 is you want to, given the slope and a point, given the slope and a point, create an equation. So in this case, what happens if I have m, my slope, to be negative 1/5 and my point to be 1, negative 1? Well, we need to find an equation for that. To find an equation, well, we want to start with the point. We use the point slope form. That looks like y minus y1 equal mx minus x1. This is x1, this is y1. You have y minus y1, which is a negative 1, equals negative 1/5. That's our m, x minus 1. So we're replacing y1 and x1 by these 2 points. And then we're cleaning it up. This gives us y plus 1 equal a negative 1/5 x plus 1/5. Bring the 1 over, so y equal a negative 1/5 x plus 1/5 minus 5 over 5. Why do I have 5 over 5? Because I'm bringing this 1 over here and subtracting 1. When I subtract a 1 from a fraction, you have to have common denominators. So I went ahead and changed 1 into 5 over 5, because that is the denominator that we have for this problem. So we have y is negative 1/5 x minus 4 over 5. This is the equation of the line. Now that you have the equation of the line, you can start graphing. Okay. Or, so you start at negative 4 and negative 4/5, which is down here, very close to 1. And then you go down 1 over 5, down 1 over 5, down 1 over 5. And this is your line. Okay. Next up, 16. Find the equation of the line, or find the equation in slope-intercept form. And they're going to tell you what form they want it. Well, what is that form? That one is y equal mx plus b, where b is your y-intercept. So if I give you the slope m to be negative 5 and the y-intercept to be equal to 3. Well, this one's easy. All you have to do, m is -5, b is 3. So the equation is going to be y equal -5x plus 3. That is the equation. All you do is you plug and you chug, you plug it in. Okay, we're still in chapter 2. Chapter 2 is section 1, section 2.1, 2, 3, 4, up to 5, I believe. So we're still in chapter 2. So this is the equation in slope-intercept. Now, what if I ask you to find an equation parallel to the line y equal 2x and containing the point 2, 3. Let's say I give you something like this. Well, for something like this, well, what does it mean to be parallel? That's the first thing I want to get at. When they're asking for a parallel line has or have same slopes. So we use the equation that they're giving us, y equal 2x. The slope of that line is 2. So what do I know about my parallel line? That I'm going to have the same slope. My slope is going to be the same one, 2. But it's asking us to pass through the point 2, 3. So I have to use the point slope form. So then use the point slope form first. So that's going to be y minus y1 equal mx minus x1. This is x1, this is y1. Plug it in. Y minus 3 equal 2 times x minus 2. And you change the way that it looks. You change this to slope-intercept form. You distribute the 2. You get 2x minus 4 and y minus 3. You solve for y. You add both sides by 3 and you get -1. And this is the equation parallel. That is the equation parallel to the one given. Okay. Any questions? So that was question 17. We are going to go into question 18 next. So question 18, very simple. So given y equal 5x plus 10, find the slope, the y-intercept, and a graph. So notice that this equation that I gave you was in slope-intercept form. This one's already given to you in that form. So this is y equal mx plus b. M is the slope 5, b is 10. The slope is 5. The y-intercept is 10. Just the number 10. So sometimes I will ask you write down the order pair. So the order pair would be 0, 10. But if they ask you to type in the integer, you only need to put the value 10. Is that clear, everybody? And then all we need to do is graph. How do we graph? We start with the y-intercept at 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Put your point. And then go up 5 over 1, up 5 over 1, because your slope is 5 over 1. Rise 5, run 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, run 1. So that's your equation. Okay. So this last question, this 18 one, we finished chapter 2. We're going to start covering chapter 3. So we're going to start review for chapter 3. Okay, so chapter 3 is next. So for chapter 3, it's going to be, we're going to start on question 19. So question 19, I give you a list of names. So if I give you, so then names, name, and then age. So I give you 2 sets of data. So I give you John, June, Jessica, Jasmine, and Jose. The ages 17, 18, 20, 21, and 22. And I give you the following. And I'm going to say, find the domain and the range. Well, what is the domain? The domain are these values, the names. So the domain is John, June, Jessica, Jasmine, and Jose. That is the domain. The range is the age. So 17, 18, 19, 20. Oh, sorry, not 19, 18, 20, 21, and 22. That is the domain and that is the range. Now, does this represent a function, yes or no? Is this a function? Is it? The answer is no. Why? Well, because look at June. June has 2 arrows, this and this. June can't be 18 and at the same time 20. Is that clear? That is not allowed. But John can be 17, June can be 17, Jessica can be 17. Is that clear? Do you see the motto here? So this is not. Stephanie, do you have a question? Stephanie? Okay. So basically, this is not a function because there's more domain than one range. So you're having 2 arrows from one X. That is not allowed for a function. Okay. All right, next up. Question 20. So remember, this is the practice exam. That doesn't mean that the final is going to be identical to this. This doesn't mean that you're not going to get, we're reviewing what we saw during the semester, okay? It's not going to be necessarily in order, not the same, of course, types of questions, but definitely the same flavor, okay? Here, state the domain and the range. Of the following relation. So what if I give you a set of points? Like -9, 6, -9, 7, 2, 2, or 1, 1, it doesn't matter. Let's say I have this. The domain of a function is all of the x values. So the domain is -9, 1, 2. You don't have to change, you don't have to rewrite -9 twice. You don't write it 2 times, you only write it once. The range is your y values. So 6, 7, 1, and 7. Write them in order, please. So 1, 6, and 7. That is your range. Now, the next question is this relation a function? Yes or no? So for that, I like to do like the little eggs. I like to do that. You don't have to. So the domain is -9, 1, and 2. The range is 1, 6, and 7. 9 goes to 6. -9 goes to 7. 1 goes to 1, and 2 goes to 7. Is this a function? The answer is no, because -9 goes to 6 and -9 goes to 7. You're not allowed to have 2 different y values. Okay. That's number 20. So not a function. This relation is not a function because of -9. Okay. Next up. We are looking at question 21. So for question 21, we want to find the domain of the equation. This is all chapter 3. Find the domain of the given function. Let's say I have r of x is equal to x minus 7 over x cubed plus 2. Okay. So the only location where I'm finding the domain of a rational is that your denominator cannot equal 0. The denominator, let me change this one to an x. Oops. So x cubed plus x is equal to. So the denominator cannot equal 0. So to find the domain, you have x cubed plus x, set it equal to 0. So then you do like the little cross. So then you have x factor x minus x plus 1. This is an x squared. So the only location is x equals 0. X cannot equal 0, and then x squared plus 1 cannot equal to 0. So you factor your denominator. So here, x squared plus 1 cannot equal 0. Well, this is x squared equal -1. This is not real solution. So the only location is at x equals 0. That is the danger. So the domain is everything but 0. The domain is -∞ to 0 union 0 to infinity. This is the case because the only location where you are not allowed to be zero, it's zero itself. So then our domain is everything but zero. So when it's preventing the zero, you're using parentheses. This is called interval notation. You should be familiar with interval notation. Okay. We have time for one more. Question 22. Again, whatever I don't finish, I still have a few more to cover. I'm going to do a recording and then I'm going to be posting that to you as a preparation for your final. Okay. But we also require you to study. So the next time we see each other will be for your final exam, which is on December. That's on your syllabus. No, there is not going to be work. No, well, I don't know yet. Hope I don't know yet. Stay tuned. You're going to have to wait for when I have to finish the review first. Does that answer your question, Hope? Okay. Cool. So the next and the last question we'll do before is we're going to do find the difference quotient. So that's question 22. Find the difference quotient. Make sure you finish all of your homework assignments. Okay, I'm going to be closing those soon. Of the function. F of x is equal to negative 9x plus 6. So that one, what is the difference quotient? This is f of x plus h minus f of x all over h, where h is not equal to 0. So what does that mean? You have to substitute x equals h into your function. So f of x plus h is equal to negative 9 x plus h plus 6. Negative 9x, negative 9h plus 6. This is f of x plus h. So now that you have f of x plus h and f of x, you subtract them. You have negative 9x minus 9h plus 6 minus negative 9x plus 6 all over h. You distribute your negative on the top. So you have negative 9x minus 9h plus 6 plus 9x minus 6 all over h. Then you start canceling. You notice that there's a negative 9x and a positive 9x. There is a 6 and a negative 6 that can cancel. You're left with negative 9h over h. The h's will cancel and you're left with negative 9. And negative 9 is your answer. Questions on this one? Okay. So I left off in question 23. So there's still more to cover. Again, I'm going to be recording myself and sending you guys the remaining of the section. I will be posting this. Make sure you to study. All we did was covered R4, R5, chapter 1, chapter 2, and we're almost done with chapter 3. You still have to do chapters. Let me see, it's on our syllabus. The last few sections for the semester are, so we're almost done with chapter 3. So it's only chapter 4, 6, and part of 12. Okay. So first and foremost, please expect announcements from me. And with the special instructions on how to submit your solutions to Canvas as an assignment. And then so Jordan, I don't know if you see there is, Jordan, what is called finals week of the semester. Are you new to Cal Poly? There is one where the last day of the semester is today. So the next week is finals week. So what does that mean about finals week? So on Thursday, so officially on the roster, today was the last day of class for us. We will not, so again, please make sure to look at your syllabus. That's what I want you to do first. I want you to look at your syllabus. So let me show you. Let me share my screen. So if we go to your course 1050, if you scroll down to the calendar, today was review for the final exam, which is what we did today. There's no class because there is December 9th. We come back. That's the last day for the final. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to be posting a recording with the remaining of the review, because there's no content, there's no new things that I'm going to be teaching you. I mean, that's it. So basically on December 9th, that's when you will have your final, which is from 3 to 4:50. It's not going to be the same time as our usual time. You're going to meet me at 3 p.m., 3 to 4:50 in the Zoom room. You guys will take your final. When you take your final, you're going to be writing things down with your solutions, nice and written. You're going to have to submit that as an assignment to Canvas. There's going to be a link on Canvas where it's going to say final exam solutions. You're going to click on it and it's going to ask you to upload your solutions. If you fail to submit your solutions, you're going to lose 5% on your final, because I need to see your work. If you only show me half of the work, you will only receive half credit. Is that clear? Any other questions before anything else?